I want to give you a little guidance on this homework problem number 28. This is from lesson 1.5. I just kind of summarized what they are asking for here. For the inequality that's described as y is less than mx plus b, which the origin would be included in that solution, then what can we conclude about the numbers that would be, in this case, what would the slope have to be, or what could the slope be, and then what would this number, the y-intercept, have to be? So normally there's some confusion about this problem, so maybe if we saw a kind of a demonstration, I think it's always good to just do some rough sketches, and maybe that will help you see more clearly what the answer should be. So let's just take a look at an example of an inequality. Okay, so this is going to have to be a dotted boundary line showing that the origin would be in the solution set. So here's a possibility. So it doesn't really have to be anything specific, but it would be something like this. All right, a dotted boundary line, and I would be shading the area below because that's where the origin would be for that boundary line. Okay, so that would be one example that would fit this description. All right, let's just try another one. Here's another example. If I did a boundary line like this, again, dotted, as long as when I do the shading, the origin would be in that shaded area. So I'll just do a different color. So now I'm shading this part underneath. Still got the origin as part of the solution. Now I'm not saying these two lines would go together. I'm just doing two different examples to represent what this is saying. So with my two examples, and we could do more, I mean there's a bunch of other ones, but I hope you're kind of already seeing that, well, let's just start with the y-intercept. What has to be true about the y-intercept for this particular inequality if we're going to have the origin as part of the solution? Well, we can't obviously come down here and do a line, because if we include the origin, less than is going to be below the line. So do you see the difference between this red line that I've drawn, this boundary line? It has a y-intercept that's negative, whereas these, in order to include the origin, the y-intercept has to be positive. Okay, so there's a conclusion that we can draw. B is going to have to be positive, or in other words, we say B is greater than 0. Now what about M, the slope? Well, we got possibilities. We could have a slope that's negative. We could have a slope that's positive. So M could be either one. It could be a positive slope or a negative slope. And again, as long as this is true, the y-intercept is positive, it could even be 0. A 0 slope would mean a horizontal line. But it couldn't just be any horizontal line because, again, we have to have a y-intercept that is positive. So as long as the y-intercept is positive, the slope could be any number. Okay, so that's where they're after. That's what they're after here. What would the possibilities, the only possibilities, be for this number called the slope and the y-intercept if the origin is going to be a part of the solution? So I had intended to kind of walk you through or just set this up and then let you finish it, but I just went ahead and finished it for you. Good thinking problem, which is always good for honors type homework problems. So if you still are unclear about this, if you don't understand how this answer was arrived at, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you next time.